Hello. Apologies for those that have just clicked on thinking this was going to be a recording of the live show or clips from the live show. It isn't, it's a review. I was there last night, the 26th of June 2018, at the Genting Arena in Birmingham, watching Flight of the Conchords. As I'm guessing many people who clicked on this link were, and it's just going to be me talking about it, doing a little review, because it says review in the title of the show. I'm sorry to all those people who watched my review of Miss Saigon and clicked on it thinking it was going to be a clips from the show. Uh, well, there you go. To the 500 people out there that caused a similar mix up to that happening. This is going to be a similar sort of thing. So if that's not your bag, hey, switch off now. I've got your views now anyway. So yeah, this one was a real surprise that was sprung on me at the last minute. My good friends Greg and Kate, a couple, they had a spare ticket and they said to me on Tuesday morning, it's now Thursday, would you like to go? We've got a spare ticket. I said, yeah, love the Conchords. I've seen them once before. I saw them in Manchester about 8 years ago, and it's astounding how much their popularity has grown because that was literally just a 500-seater theatre that they were playing at the time, and this was after they'd had the HBO series. And so to go from that to doing an arena tour, which is what they're doing now, they actually sold out the O2 for 3 nights on a row. So it's amazing how their popularity has grown. I guess that's maybe the difference between TV and films. Since 2010, the two of them have had sort of major exposure in the film world with the Muppets movies and What We Do in the Shadows, and Brett's an Oscar winner now, so that's probably through that I reckon, and word of mouth spreading about how good these guys are. I reckon a lot of the fans of them have discovered the Conchords in retrospect. They might not have watched it on its initial run, but they've probably gone back and watched it. But I was there. I was there at the start when when they were just well, not at the start, because that, I guess, that would be the pre HBO series fans, the guys who just knew them from the live show or their short lived Radio 4 series, which is an interesting one to check out. Murray was in it, and he kept phoning Neil Flynn in every episode and asking him advice. It was kind of some of the plots of it are similar, but it was kind of a loose formed version of the TV series. But I discovered, I remember watching the actual television broadcast. You remember television broadcasts? I watched the television broadcast of the first series when I think it was on BBC 4, and was hooked. I think I mean, it was probably episode 3 that I saw, and that's the one where they do think about it. They Brett abandons Jermaine in the street, and he's like, "Are you mad with me, Jermaine? Maybe. Is it because I ate your last cupcake? No. Is it because I abandoned you in the street? Yes, actually, yes." You'll be glad to know the rapport, the banter between the two of them is just as strong. It's just as nonsensical. But it's kind of, it's two really smart guys playing two really dumb guys. I think that's the key to it. I think that's the key to a lot of great double acts. Really, is you have essentially the comedy lies in the double act in playing dumb and being stupid, and the characters of Brett and Jermaine, which they carry on onto the stage, of being a bit dim and kind of naff and small scale, is where a lot of the humour lies in the Conchords, and it was right up my street. It was they've done that unique thing that kind of the Mighty Boosh did a little bit at the same time of making doing comedy musical numbers, but not making them rubbish. Tenacious D, of course, did a similar sort of thing. The they are actually quite strong musically. They're quite good musicians. They're quite good songwriters. I mean, I was going to say Brett as an Oscar to show for it, but I mean, if you look at the list of the musical Oscar winners out there, that's no great accolade. But yeah, it was really. I was a big fan from right from the get go, right from the first TV series. That's where I discovered them, and it was really. It felt like I think HBO were trying to do British comedy, but do at the time, but do it better than what we were producing in this country at the time, because it feels, although they're New Zealanders, it feels very much, and it's set in New York. It feels very much. It feels very British. It feels like it's a very British sensibility that New Zealanders have. I mean, New Zealanders have a very British sensibility anyway, and it came as no surprise when I discovered that they'd actually started on Radio 4, and whatever the BBC's loss was HBO's gain, because they produced. I think they only did the two series, something like 22 episodes, and they called it a day after that, because they said, the second series, I'd say it isn't quite as strong as the first, because they really struggled to. It's the difficult second album, unfortunately, because it wasn't just a case like in most comedy writers' cases, when they came to doing the second series, of just having to write another 6 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever they did. They also had to come up with musical numbers for the second series, completely new, fresh ones, because they completely used the back catalogue for the first one. And it's like that, the difficult second album syndrome. The reason the second album usually is difficult to produce is because the first album is usually, the best of 4 or 5 years worth of material that the band has tried and tested on the stage, that they simply lay down in the recording studio. They then have to do the second album a year later and come up with a completely new set of songs that's as strong as the first. And so it's no surprise that the songs that they're most recognised for now, Business Time, Most Beautiful Girl in the Room, and Bowie's in Space, they all come from the first series. I think that the only song they did from the second series last night was Carol Brown, Took a Bus Out of Town, whatever that one's called. Shut Up Ex-Girlfriends from the Past. So yeah, I'd say it was a nice mixture of old stuff and new stuff I hadn't heard before. The new stuff was quite strong. The old stuff they did was stuff like Bowie in Space, Mother Uckers. They didn't do Business Time, funnily enough, which surprised me, because that I would have thought that was their signature tune, but maybe they don't want it to be their signature tune. But they did Bowie in Space, all the Foo for Fapa, that one. But interspersed in there was some new ones. There was obviously, I don't know the names of these yet, but if I just describe them to you, so there was one about a boy talking to his father, and then it slowly. They came out with this one. It slowly revealed over the course of the song that the father's divorced, and he thinks the father thinks the mother is dead, and the son's telling him she's not dead, she's run off with another man. Um, there was a jazz number they did, which, I mean, if anyone's heard my commentaries on the commentaries, they'll know this one was right up my street. This was, I mean, it was basically doing what I do in those at certain points, but doing it way better. I must admit. Taking a long meandering walk. There was one about where Brett's describing himself as a seagull soaring high, and then Jermaine's explaining the metaphor that he's not really a seagull. It's a metaphor for lost love, and then it turns out that it's not a metaphor at all. It's just a song about a seagull. There was a really bizarre, long-winded one about two Santas who go to war, and what I couldn't quite make it out, but what one's Santa and one's an anagram of Santa, because an anagram of Santa is Satan, and then at the end of the song they stop being enemies and become lovers. Um, there was another one I really liked. I know I'm going to forget it, and I'm going to kick myself for forgetting it, because it was my favourite one of the evening, even more than the jazz number. Uh, what was the other one? It was so good, I can't even remember it, but it really tickled my funny bone when I heard it. Um, yeah, but yeah. So yeah, like I say, this was their first arena tour in the UK. I was surprised, actually. I thought when I heard they were doing arena shows that I thought, okay, they're going big then, are they? I was expecting them to have a backing band maybe, but they didn't. They had the Philharmonic Orchestra with them, but it was the New Zealand Philharmonic Orchestra, so it was just one guy on a cello accompanying them. So it was for an arena show, it was quite small scale. It was a comedy show rather than more than a music gig. It had all the trappings of a comedy show. They had I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who played the landlord in the TV show, he came on and did a bit of stand up at the start. He was their support act, and he was. I mean. He must be their resident support actor, because he supported them last time I saw them as well. And then yeah, it was, if you've seen a Conchords gig, it was exactly what you'd expect. It was just the two of them, very low key, sort of very low energy. Funnily enough, for an arena tour. It was just them two sitting on stools for the majority, play it with their guitars and bringing out different instruments. Brett plays a bit of the piano, and uh, yeah, it was fun. If I had any gripes, I had a couple. One was that I kind of felt that the the arena isn't the best environment for doing comedy songs, because the acoustics aren't great when it comes to vocals. At a few stages, I actually struggled to hear what some of the lyrics were. I could, maybe this was just me, because I could hear other people laughing at them, but I find it a bit of a struggle to make out. Some of the lyrics were a little muffled. Now, obviously this doesn't matter if you're seeing Bon Jovi or whoever, because it's all about the music. It's all about the song as a whole. With the Flight of the Conchords, the jokes are the lyrics, so you want to be able to hear the lyrics. So it's a bit of a problem in an arena gig, in a Conchords gig, if you can't hear the vocals. So that was one gripe I had. The other gripe, and it's a very minor one, is Brett didn't do "I'll Give You What You Want" from Muppets Most Wanted, which which is mine and my partner Amy's song. Um, So yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick one, a quick little review roundup of the gig last night. You know, a great evening. If you get a chance, go see them. And thanks once again to Greg and Kate for giving me that ticket. Didn't even ask me for any money for it, which was I offered obviously, but they said no, it's fine. We had a spare one and we wanted to go to somebody who'd appreciate it. I was like, well, if you're watching this, guys, I did very much appreciate it. So thank you very much. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for the moment. If I remember what that really good song was that I can't remember, then I'll put it in the description. But yeah. Okay. I'll see you all out there in YouTube land, folks. See ya.